Live from the campus of Penn State University, this is PSN News. It's Monday, February 20th. We have all you need to know about THON's record-breaking fundraising total and recent decisions made by the Board of Trustees.
We also have more on national environmental concerns and 2024 election updates, along with weather, sports, and entertainment. Stay tuned.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm AJ Sisson.
And I'm Anjelica Rubin.
Penn State THON has broken its fundraising record yet again after their Sunday total reveal. THON's executive committee displayed in their traditional banner reveal that their year-long fundraising efforts amassed in over $15 million. This is the second year in a row the record has been broken, with THON breaking their own record by over $1 million. This year's theme was Foster the Magic and hosted 707 dancers and thousands of spectators in the Bryce Jordan Center. Since THON began its partnership with Four Diamonds in 1977, over $203 million has been donated to the foundation.
The Penn State Board of Trustees approved new room and board rates for the 2023-24 school year during its meeting Friday. Approved by the Committee on Finance, Business, and Capital Planning, the proposal says while Commonwealth campuses will also see an overall increase of almost 2%, University Park students will see a larger increase of over 3.5%. Though rates will vary depending on each student's room and meal type, the increase marks the first time in history that Penn State will have approved a differentiated rate increase for University Park and its Commonwealth campuses.
The Penn State Board of Trustees made another approval with the purchase of a 20-acre agricultural property in Benner Township. The over $2 million property is located just off Buffalo Run Road, next to the University Park Airport. Senior Vice President for Finance and Business Sarah Thorndike said that this purchase will aid in student learning and graduate research possibilities. Activities possible include researching invasive pests, genetically modified plants, and ways to combat climate uncertainty. Funding for the purchase will be provided by the College of Agricultural Sciences.
A new grant from the Department of Community and Economic Development is set to help combat homelessness in Centre County. After being selected for the grant late last year, Centre County's Deputy Human Services Administrator and Director of Adult Services, Faith Ryan, will head the additional funding. The plan is for the grant to support homelessness prevention and to expand the emergency shelter services already in place. The grant total is over $200,000 and will cover funding through the end of the year. Happy Valley continues to experience back-and-forth weather as spring approaches. Anchor Hannah George with Campus Weather Service will give us more details on what those temperatures will look like in tonight's weather report. Take a look.
From the students of Penn State Meteorology, here is your Penn State Campus Weather Service forecast.
Good evening from the Penn State Campus Weather Service. I'm Hannah George. I hope you all have had a wonderful day so far. We're looking at a beautiful sky over Beaver Stadium right now, and we're at a temperature of about 52 degrees. A little windy out there at times, but nothing that's going to affect how it feels too much. This morning we woke up to pretty cloudy skies out there. Those cleared out for a moment around 9-10 a.m. crept back in by about noon, lunchtime, and have stayed here for most of the day, but that has not affected the nice temperatures we've been seeing. Getting into the high 50s there for a moment, and as mentioned, we're at about 52 degrees right now. Overall for the state, that's been the case. High 40s, 50s. Philadelphia creeps into the 60s there for a second. You can see Erie staying in those high 30s, but still, I'd say this is what most of February has been like this year, just pretty nice temperatures out there. And speaking on averages, you can see that the whole state has seen a pretty decent increase in temperatures departing from average so far, and that's definitely something people have been talking about a lot. You can see places such as Williamsport, Harrisburg get into over 20-degree increase. This western half isn't seeing quite as much of an increase, but still definitely something people have noticed. And that's been the case for most of this eastern half of the country, as you can see. Up here, places such as Detroit, not quite as much of an increase, but still, once again, something people have noticed. In the last 24 hours here, this eastern half, we've seen a little bit of an increase, but it was pretty nice yesterday, so that's why it's not too hefty, because we're still staying in those 50s like we were yesterday for the most part. This western half seen a little bit of a decrease, and you can see that's the case for most of this Great Lakes area, moving down here a little as well into West Virginia. But overall, eastern half of the country seeing, once as usual, an increase in temperature. That's what we're seeing a lot of this February. Taking a look at the radar, you can see the chance of some precipitation overnight here. We might see some of that tomorrow as well, with this system possibly creeping in on us here in State College. And that's going to move through. It'll clear out by tomorrow evening. Be pretty windy out there tomorrow. I'll talk about that more a little bit later. You can see Wednesday, not much going on. We have a chance for something going on here around the morning. And taking a look at a more zoomed out version here, you can see Tuesday, once again, that system has a chance of hitting us. It'll clear out, and for the rest of the work week, we're going to see some sort of precipitation, sometimes even getting into a wintry mix, maybe even snow at some points, and that's going to be the case for the rest of the work week and for parts of the weekend. You're going to see a decent amount of precipitation move along here. It'll be pretty clear, you can see there, overnight Thursday going into Friday, and pretty cloudy on Saturday during the AM, and a chance for some snow there. You can see that kind of sneaking in for a second. Tonight we're going to be looking at a temperature of 36 degrees with that light rain overnight, like I mentioned, and not much wind out there, not much to talk about with that. Tomorrow we're going to see a temperature of 50, so still sticking pretty nice out there, but once again, those showers and that wind. We're going to see gusts of over 35 miles per hour at times, and that is definitely something that will probably make it feel a little bit cooler at times, but still a pretty nice day. Looking at your 7-day forecast here, as mentioned today, beautiful day, a high of 57. Tomorrow's going to decrease a little with the temperature of 51. That decrease is going to continue into Wednesday, where we have a chance of seeing some sort of wintry mix, possibly with the temperature of 35 degrees. That 35 degrees is going to stick around for most of the day, as Thursday is going to see a high of 65 degrees with a chance of rain. Warm out there, but as you might expect, behind that warm day is going to be a cold front that's going to bring in a temperature of 35 degrees on Friday, and that 35 is going to stick around for Friday and Saturday. Saturday, a chance of rain, possibly even snow, and it's going to get a little bit warmer as we move into Sunday. We're going to see partly sunny skies out there and a high of 45. Once again, I'm Hannah George from the Campus Weather Service. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Welcome back to PSN News. I'm Antonio Fondacaro with your sports update. Penn State men's basketball advances to a 16-11 record after defeating Minnesota 76-69 on Saturday. Point guard Jalen Pickett led the way with 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. Cameron Winter was the team's second leading scorer with 14 points. Winter also achieved 5 assists and 4 rebounds. The Nittany Lions' first road win in 2 months keeps hopes alive for an appearance in the NCAA title tournament. The Nittany Lions are set to face Ohio State, Rutgers, Northwestern, and Maryland to close out the 2023 regular season. The Nittany Lions have set themselves up for their first March Madness tournament appearance since 2001. Penn State wrestling dominated Clarion this Sunday afternoon 40-6 to cap off the season. Coach Cale Sanderson's squad head to the Big Ten tournament with an undefeated 16-0 record. At 133 pounds, number 1 ranked Roman Bravo Young pinned Clarion's Mason Prinkley to give the Nittany Lions a quick 9-0 lead. Number 2 ranked heavyweight Greg Kirkfleet pinned Austin Chapman to finish the meet. Nittany Lions Wrestling has 11 days to prepare for the first round of the Big Ten Championship Tournament on Saturday, March 4th in Ann Arbor, Michigan. NBA All-Star LeBron James suffered a right hand contusion at the All-Star game. During a play, he jammed his finger on the rim while blocking Pascal Siakam. James put up 13 points and 4 assists before being sidelined for the injury. The All-Star game finished with Team Giannis toppling Team LeBron for a final score of 184-175. Celtics superstar Jason Tatum stole the spotlight last night. He broke Anthony Davis's All-Star game scoring record with 55 points for Team Giannis. Tatum's stat line finished with an additional 10 rebounds and 6 assists to accompany his legendary night. Giannis Antetokounmpo stated, "Winner, winner, chicken dinner," in response to snapping LeBron's 5-0 record as an All-Star captain. That's all for your sports update. After the break, Gracie Eckerly has the latest updates from the entertainment world. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to PSN News. I'm Gracie Eckerly with your entertainment update. Get ready to illuminate the line within this year at PSU's annual homecoming. Penn State Homecoming's Executive Committee members announced its 2023 theme during THON on Saturday afternoon. Executive Director April Comel says the theme comes from the greater meaning of the Nittany Lion. Comel said, quote, "Even though we come from different backgrounds, we are one community, forever a home, united by the lion within," end quote. As in years past, the 2023 homecoming logo will wait to be revealed until the blue-white game, currently scheduled for April 15th. THON 2023 was full of great performances this year. British pop star Natasha Bedingfield took the stage Friday night at the BJC and sang some of her greatest hits such as Unwritten and Pocketful of Sunshine. Following the pep rally Saturday night was DJ Weathen, an artist and producer who turned the BJC into a rave. Finally, everyone's favorite hour, Country Hour, consisted of a rocking performance early Sunday morning by Adam and the Armadillos. The all-American honky-tonk band is local to central Pennsylvania. I think it's safe to say there's never a dull moment at Penn State's THON. Way to go, dancers. It's a bittersweet moment in the metaverse. Megan Fox is officially back on Instagram after deleting her account last week. The 36-year-old actress recently split from her fiancé Machine Gun Kelly after a fight over Super Bowl weekend. Megan announced her return to the social media app by posting a screenshot of her notes saying, quote, "There has been no third-party interference in this relationship of any kind," end quote. A source close to Megan says the two haven't officially called off their engagement yet, but Megan did take off her engagement ring. In the meantime, Fox has some news for Gossip Column saying, "You need to let the story die and leave all of these innocent people alone now," end quote. That's all for your entertainment update. After the break, interview anchor Marielle Reese will be speaking with Olivia Estrite, a news editor for the Daily Collegiate. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome back to PSN News. I'm Marielle Reese. With me tonight is Olivia Estrite, a news editor for the Daily Collegiate. Olivia, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Now, Olivia, you are one of the reporters for the Daily Collegiate. Can you tell us a little bit about the organization?
Absolutely. So on the Collegiate, I'm one of the news editors. That means I manage about 50 different student reporters alongside my co-editing partner. And the Collegiate itself has so many different branches that people can get involved in. So there's news, multimedia, sports, lifestyle, and photo coverage. We also are trying to get more into social media, which is definitely up and coming for student media outlets, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, we're pretty much a major news outlet, and we try putting out content almost 24/7.
That's awesome. How would one get involved or join the Daily Collegiate?
Yeah, so we have applications going out in both summer and spring and fall semesters, which is awesome. So if people do want to get involved, they can follow us on all of our social media accounts and just keep an eye out for when our applications go out and they go live. They tend to go live right after both involvement fairs and just at the beginning of the summer, just to keep people in and up to date with when things are going out.
So what made you decide to become a reporter for the Daily Collegiate?
I love talking to people.
It's great you're here then.
Oh yeah, it works out perfectly. So I love talking to people, and I love writing and just being able to share other people's stories. So when I first heard about the Collegiate, I was looking through and I'm like, oh man, they're like a legitimate news outlet. So I kind of assumed in the future, if I wanted to get into journalism and if I wanted to go down that career route, that would be the best way for me to sort of dip my toes in the water. And normally I like to be on the digital and print side of things, not broadcast. So that was just kind of a way that I could get more into the print side of things. So we do put out like papers weekly, so I get to have a hand in actually like creating a paper, which is really awesome too. And so I guess from this point on, I'm just going to be telling stories for the rest of my life, and I'm here for it.
That's awesome. So I understand that THON went on this past weekend. Did you attend it?
Yes, I was there for around 35 hours.
Wow.
But 4 of those hours were visiting some friends I knew on the floor, so I got to go and support them. But it was a fun weekend. It was long, as I'm sure most media outlets know, but I'm really glad we got to do it. Definitely an interesting experience.
So did you write a story about your experience there? And what was it about? Or?
Oh, absolutely. So the Collegiate itself actually put out around 80 different videos and stories for the weekend. The editors, we all got to kind of take charge whenever we were low on content. So we got to write blogs, columns, stuff like that. One of my favorite columns I wrote was about my friend Phoebe, who was dancing. Phoebe is one of my best friends, and she's not a narcissist, but she's confident. So she was very confident going into the weekend, a little nervous, which is normal. She ended up standing for all 46 hours, but 3 people on her floor passes, including myself, had issues getting down onto the floor with the digital line pass. So I decided if I couldn't go down there, I might as well write her a column supporting her. So I did write a little column up just on the importance of supporters going to THON and just keeping the atmosphere going and just making sure the energy is just as high as it could be for all 707 dancers for the entire weekend. So I think she appreciated it. She might have been a little delirious reading it, but you know, it works.
That's awesome. So I also understand that you have a podcast at the Daily Collegian.
Yes. So Phoebe and I are actually the co-hosts of a podcast called It's Not That Deep. So it all started when one of our multimedia editors, Sophia, she was like, hey, you guys are good to like start this podcast up. Let's get it going. So we ended up creating the podcast and it was so much fun. We just started sort of talking about, we both have sort of an anxiety type of deal going on. And I think a lot of people do in college, especially with just a different atmosphere and the transitioning in. So Phoebe and I sort of became really close over discussing and sort of disclosing like, oh man, dude, this is getting to me. So we started a podcast pretty much just talking about all the negative aspects in life. And then we turned it into just something that's like, it's not that deep. Because so many things in life aren't that deep. We put so much focus and emphasis on all of these issues going on in our lives that in reality, in 5 years from now, we're probably not even gonna realize are that deep. So we started the podcast, and now we're going into the hub. We're sort of going out in the wild more and just hoping that we can reach more people and just hoping that it helps at least one person along the way.
That's awesome. So everyone, if you see Olivia or Phoebe there, watch it.
Talk to us. We'll have a good time.
So what was your latest episode about?
Oh, yes. So we speed dated in the hub, which was a very good time. We got no suitors.
Oh, no.
We're both still very single, but that's okay because it's all good for the plot. So, you know, we were just hanging out in the hub, speed dating. We allowed people to pitch themselves to the world. Granted, the world is just the 206 people who actually watched it, which is so valid. I can't blame them for that. I wouldn't watch us either. But you know what? It's not that deep.
Well, it's fairly recent, right? Like when
it is.
When did it start? When was the first episode?
So we started at the beginning of, oh man, I think the middle of last semester actually, and we've just been going through, but we just started going into the wild, so we get our names out there.
Wow.
So we've done podcasts on unsolicited advice, which is always a good time talking to Penn State students because you never know what's going to come out of their mouths.
I know what they're going to say. That's
they
right.
continue to surprise. I'm like, oh, wow, you really just spilled like the most traumatic moment in your life in the middle of the hub. I'm like, well, you know, if you could say it in the hub, you should probably say it to a therapist. But, you know, Phoebe and I are here if you need to. So that one was another fun one that we did. But yeah, it's been a really great time just working with everyone and just seeing a different side of journalism.
No, that's awesome. Would you say that like you prefer recording the podcast to like editing or writing articles, or like what's your experience now that you have like kind of your hands in both of those?
Oh yeah, that's so valid. I still think I'm stronger with writing and editing just because sometimes I say things that are a little too out of pocket. And I'm like, ooh, we have to tell our editors all the time, like, yeah, if you need to cut that, just cut it. It's okay. But yeah, so I would definitely say reporting, editing is going to be my strong suit in the end. But it's been a blast either way.
That's awesome. Well, what would you say to anyone that's interested in either recording a podcast or writing for the Daily Collegian?
Yeah, totally. I would say the biggest thing is just, it's not that deep. You might as well go out and you might as well try it because in the end, you're only going to get as far as, you're only going to put yourself, the effort it takes to put yourself out there is a lot. But as long as you keep trying, it gets easier every time. So you might as well just try it. It's not that deep.
Now, that's all the time we have tonight, but thank you, Olivia, for coming in tonight and sharing more about the Daily Collegian. Up next, AJ and Angelica will bring you the latest news from across the nation. Stay tuned.
Colorado lawmakers voted on Thursday to initially approve the study of a special type of charcoal. The substance is called biochar and is made by burning organic material at high heat with low oxygen. Scientists at Colorado State University are testing whether the material can filter dangerous gas leaks and stop carbon from forming carbon dioxide. Lawmakers plan to use abandoned oil wells across the state as carbon traps by filling them with biochar. There are over 3 million abandoned oil wells nationwide. Experts say if tests are successful, biochar could keep billions of tons of carbon dioxide from entering the atmosphere.
U.S. forest managers in New Mexico are moving ahead with plans to kill feral cattle they say have become a threat to public safety and natural resources in the nation's first designated wilderness. The Gila National Forest issued the decision after environmental groups raised concerns. An estimated 150 cattle have been damaging streams and rivers throughout the forest. Ranchers have been critical of the decision amidst the continual deep drought, but the plan will go ahead with a shooter helicopter expected to fly over the wilderness this week.
An Arizona appeals court denied Republican Kari Lake's request to throw out election results from the state's most populous county. This request was initiated after Lake lost to Democratic candidate Katie Hobbs. The ruling on Thursday stated that ballots counted at a different site ultimately have their vote counted. Voters in Maricopa County were given underweight ballots by defective printers and were unable to be read by on-site tabulators. County officials say that every affected ballot was taken to a more sophisticated counter off-site. Lake tweeted shortly after the ruling that she will take this case all the way to the Arizona Supreme Court.
Utah Senator Mitt Romney, outspoken among the Republican Party, is considering a run for re-election in 2024. After 4 years in Washington, the 2012 Republican Party presidential nominee has established himself as a bipartisan politician. He voted in favor of convicting former President Donald J. Trump in impeachment trials twice, becoming the first senator of the same party to do so. Romney has not yet announced his decision, but is, quote, keeping his mind open. He will most likely make a statement towards the beginning of the summer. And that concludes our show tonight at PSN News.
Be sure to check us out on Twitter and Facebook at PSN News, on Instagram at Penn State Network News, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/PSN News.
Have a good night and stay safe, Penn State.